Hi there to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television. 6 p.m. in Kumba. It's time for the news. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our major stories this evening. The Tuesday, August 5th verdict of the Constitutional Council of Cameroon on the pre-electoral appeals ahead of the October 12, 2025 presidential election has dampened somehow the credibility of the institution and consequently the process in the hearts and minds of most Cameroonians. In a wave of mixed and diverse reactions, the minds converged on the fact that the exclusion of some major candidates, notably Professor Maurice KAMTO, was unexpected. From across subdivisions of the city of Duala and also across Cameroon, Cameroonians say they expect more from the 2025 election. We will be bringing to you updates on reactions from artists, politicians and others in this news edition. And also in the second part of the news, viewers, we will be taking you or talking with one of the defense lawyers of Professor Maurice KAMTO, who defended the Manidem candidate at the Constitutional Council in Yaoundé. Viewers, those are our lead stories. Details and more when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. Thank you for being with us. We begin by talking on the verdict of the Constitutional Council that was yesterday on the Manidem endorsed presidential candidate. The Tuesday, August 5 verdict of the Constitutional Council of Cameroon on the pre-electoral appeals ahead of the presidential election in Cameroon somehow dampens the credibility of the institution and consequently the process in the hearts of many Cameroonians. They have been reacting differently to what happened in Yaoundé that was yesterday. Let's now have some of those reactions with our reporter for me, Amtron Sanda, in the report which comes up next.
Silencing a major opponent, yes, according to Cameroonians across the street of the city of Duala, who on their part have refused to be silent over the exclusion of some candidates from the race to Etodi. Reacting one day after the decision of the Constitutional Council, Cameroonians in Duala say the verdict was not unexpected.
Because once we understand that the ELECAM did not select Mr. Maurice KAMTO, we already knew that the probability that his candidature will be rejected was very, very high. I believe, like myself, many Cameroonians were already aware.
For what happened yesterday in Yaoundé, it's not a surprise. We know how our country is controlled. You cannot send somebody to go and stay in our office and then the person will come against you. No.
C'est décevant.
Amidst deception, frustration and hope, Cameroonians in Duala, opposed to the regime in place, say that
et que nous tous, on suit cette personne. C'est qu'on attend du professeur qui nous dit seulement que d'accord, les gars, voilà ce que moi je choisis. Et ce qu'il va choisir, ça serait notre choix aussi.
Taking the example of the MFP political party in Thailand in 2023, or better still that of Maria Corina in Venezuela in 2024, Cameroonians say that the hope of a tight race to Etodi 2025 or an eventual opposition victory is not over, with much expected to be done by Maurice KAMTO despite his exclusion from the race. These Cameroonians, in other words, think that his exclusion is some sort of a mixed blessing that will facilitate a much talked about opposition victory.
Cameroonians are ready to listen to Maurice KAMTO. And if Maurice KAMTO was not after power, if he was actually after change in Cameroon, he will endorse another, I think he should let him endorse another political actor, and Cameroonians are going to support him.
He should humble himself and join coalition. He should at least go and meet some of these people, talk to them and give his support to them.
The only thing is to go and vote. Vote against somebody. Don't stay home and say you cannot vote. The person will vote and win.
Change can come through the ballot, and the ballot is the only way that if Cameroonian massively votes, if they massively go to the polling station and then choose a candidate that they believe in and then massively give their vote to that person, I think change will come through.
From the Duala 1 right up to the Duala 5 municipality, views are diverging and converging, and one thing is certain, that Cameroonians expect more from the October 12, 2025 presidential election with fireworks expected to be produced. Live for Equinoxe Television, Jires Yopa, for me, I'm Sanda.
Thank you for me. Meantime, the decision of the Constitutional Council to reject the candidacy of Mani Dem's Professor Maurice KAMTO was relayed also by journalists of the print media across Cameroon, while some described it as a shameful on the country's democracy. Others say it was a well-calculated move by the regime in place. Our reporter, Smanji Kangibre, compiles what the newspapers have to say today.
C'est plus le débat, si vous permettez.
Several hours after the Constitutional Council officially declared that the rejection of Mani Dem's proposed candidate, Professor Maurice KAMTO, for the upcoming presidential election by ELECAM had no legal backing, the outing of the members of the Constitutional Council made headlines on several newspapers in Cameroon. One of Anglo-Saxon leading newspapers, the Guardian Post, captioned KAMTO out, stating that the Constitutional Council rejected the petition on its substance. Municipal Update simply puts it, Constitutional Council kicks out KAMTO, while the median newspaper said Maurice KAMTO have been excluded definitely from the presidential elections. The Voice captioned KAMTO Council rejection, no news. On the other hand, the newspapers in French language were very hostile towards the elimination of Professor Maurice KAMTO. La Nouvelle Expression's main caption, with pictures of members of the Constitutional Council about the rejection, read, Constitutional Council, what a shame. Le Jour simply puts it, hostage taken, adding that the group in power in Yaoundé have just confirmed their determination to keep the destiny of Cameroonians in their hands. Mutation puts it that Maurice KAMTO injured but not dead, while La Quotidienne Emergence say that the rejection of Professor Maurice KAMTO's candidacy was a political decision that has angered many. West Echo puts it that KAMTO is a victim of the state's mafia. Le Messager said they have disqualified him.
And the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party, politicians and also artists in Cameroon joined their voices to criticize the verdict of the Constitutional Council rejecting the candidacy of Professor Maurice KAMTO. They see this as a violation of the law and gives a poor image of the country at the international level. Their reactions compiled also by Lucille Yengu is here.
Among the piercing reactions from political figures and artists is that of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement (CRM). The party regrets the verdict of the Constitutional Council, which rejected the candidacy of Professor Maurice KAMTO, viewing it as a neglect of the democratic process. Furthermore, the CRM reiterates its mission to see the country prosper, stating that nothing will deviate the party from its vision. It calls on activists, supporters and all Cameroonians to remain calm, restrained and serene while voting through the ballot box. In addition to the CRM's response, Parfait Voum, the national president of the Republican Forum, comments on the troubling state of justice in Cameroon. He highlights a scenario where a minister falsified official documents and presented them before the country's highest court without facing consequences. In contrast, a citizen who admitted to hacking the ministry's official website with the minister's approval faced the same court while others applauded. Consequently, Parfait Voum believes the world now has confirmation that fake ministerial documents exist in Cameroon, yet no one is held accountable. Also, legal expert Barrister shares her thoughts on her Facebook page, stating, "When the force of law becomes the law of force, justice itself can only become injustice." In another perspective, Christian Timban Bomo, executive president of the Heritage Party, extends his support to Professor Maurice KAMTO. He asserts that without KAMTO, there would be no opposition in Cameroon. He contends that the regime is frightened by this key opposition figure and is now using mafia-like tactics to eliminate his candidacy. Therefore, Christian Timban urges Professor Maurice Kamto to remain determined. Finally, carrying the voice of artists, Kares Fotso states, today it is not only Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy supported by Manidem that has been rejected, it is the truth that has been humiliated. She condemns those who see the lies but choose to remain silent, encouraging Cameroonians not to be afraid when fighting for their rights.
And now, after the Constitutional Council is done with its job, what happens next? Candidates retained for the October 12 presidential election by the Constitutional Council after end of pre-electoral litigations have begun paving the way forward ahead of the official campaign. The elections organizing body ELECAM is also having a bag full of preoccupations before campaigns are launched. Innocent as it unfolds events during this period leading to the campaigns.
The pre-electoral litigation period is over, with the certification of 12 candidates, amongst them a woman, to contest the top position of the Republic on October 12. Between now and the period, campaigns will be launched. A series of activities will be carried out in preparation. Amongst them is withdrawal of voter cards at the different ELECAM branch offices.
Alors, à présent que le contentieux préélectoral a été vidé,
Madame Dorothée Antoinette Eyango, ELECAM Wuri Divisional Chief, states that distribution of the voter cards is the principal activity keeping ELECAM personnel busy this period. Efforts are being doubled to woo electorates to collect the documents filed at ELECAM offices.
Que nous avons encore un nombre important de cartes d'électeurs en stock dans nos différentes antennes communales.
Preparation of election materials also takes place within this period, she says.
La vérification des centres et bureaux de vote pour s'enquérir de leur état, comptage de la vérification du matériel électoral, notamment en ce qui concerne les urnes et les isoloirs.
Elections Cameroon will also get busy with taking into account the colors and number of ballot papers of retained candidates, equivalent to the number of electors registered, plus 1/4 thereof, as well as campaign ballot papers it shall be printing. Thus, the candidates shall provide the election organizing body these details and also prepare circulars, manifestos or posters. ELECAM will also preoccupy itself drawing up the list of polling stations for every council, with specified area to be covered by each polling station. Political parties or candidates are now into full preparation for the campaign to be launched 15 days preceding the election and to close at midnight on the eve of the election day.
And to conclude with reports on the election, we noticed that during the pre-election dispute hearing, the Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization in front of the Constitutional Council stated that Anise Kane has not been the president of Manidem that was since 2021. A surprising outing to many because until 2025, the Ministry of Territorial Administration itself and ELECAM continued to send official correspondents to Anise Kane as the party president. Our reporter Cedric Chakuto highlights these controversies during the hearings at the Constitutional Council.
In a dramatic twist at Cameroon's Constitutional Council, lawyers for Maurice Kamto exposed a major fraud involving the Ministry of Territorial Administration. The ministry had attempted to disqualify Kamto's candidacy by claiming that Anise Kane is no longer president of the Manidem party and replacing his name on the ministry's website with that of Yebga, a regime-backed figure.
Quelle est la personne qui reçoit les subventions? Est-ce que c'est José Yebga ou M. Anise Kane?
It should be recalled, on July 21st, 2025, the official website of the Ministry of Territorial Administration still listed Anise Kane as president of Manidem. However, during the night of July 21st to 22nd, 2025, the Ministry of Territorial Administration's website became unavailable. When it reappeared, On July 23rd, surprise on the page dedicated to political parties, Anissa Ekane's name had been deleted and replaced with that of Dieudonné Yebga.
Pourquoi Elecam nous écrit qu'en avril 2025 et du jour au lendemain?
The Ministry of Territorial Administration claims that their website had been hacked with the malicious intent of inserting a name that has neither legal basis nor a legitimate place, an outing that sparked reactions in the political landscape. A surprising fact, however, is that until 2025, the Ministry of Territorial Administration itself and Elecam continued to recognize Anissa Ekane in official correspondence as party president.
Ça veut dire que si le MINAT...
It means that if the Ministry of Territorial Administration knew that since 2021, Anissa Ekane was no longer the president of the Manidem party, in this case, it means that there is embezzlement somewhere.
Cette aide, n'est-ce pas, au parti, je vais dire au parti public, au parti politique, ça veut dire qu'il y a détournement de fonds quelque part.
It means that you are aware that someone is not qualified to collect the public last funds, but you give it to him.
Vous avez continué à les lui reverser.
A blatant contradiction. No notification was sent to Elecam and no official document was made public before KAMTO's application was submitted.
Thanks, Cedric. And now let's get to know how Cameroon is faring today in just a moment. And our series of Cameroon today will take you to the central region. Etok and Kolabang are villages found within the Vodula subdivision in the Leke division of the central region of Cameroon. The villages have been in darkness for the past 30 years, though wireless poles have been erected all over the village. Ironically, these villages are located just few meters away from Yaoundé. Simon Jikan Gabriel takes us to the Vodula subdivision.
Contrary to other villages, Etok enjoys tarred roads, but still suffering. Etok is underdeveloped. We have many difficulties in Etok. I have never seen a village like this one. A project has never started and ended well in Etok. One of such projects which has been abandoned is the community hall of Etok. The construction work started before 2023 and was supposed to be completed within a period of 3 months. But 2 years gone, the construction works have stopped. In the meantime, youths unemployed spend their time drinking sachet whiskies. Potable water remains a luxury in Etok. Getting the precious liquid here is hell. Etok is joined in this difficulty by a neighboring village, Nkolabang, whose taps have remained dry. For one to get water during dry season, you pay children to go in search of it. Potable water is very difficult to get. Natives of Nkolabang depend on nature for water. During rainy days, basins are lined up to get water. When it's raining, most of the water we fetch is for house use, since we can't drink it. Reasons you see basins with water. Water is not definitely the major problem of the people of Etok and Kolabang. For over 30 years, they have not seen electricity with their eyes. We have roads, but no electricity here. We don't know why, and we are close to Yaoundé. Since a former MP brought us electricity, it has now disappeared. Poles are installed everywhere, but no power supply.
On voit seulement les photos.
The people of Etok and Kolabang say it's been 30 years now since the poles without cables were planted. The people have been waiting for electricity, which is not coming. It's since 1996 that we don't have electricity here. We are very disappointed, though we used to have it before. But since 96, no power supply. Close to God, but yet far from paradise. Just 1.5 kilometers from the main town Evudula, in the outskirts of Yaoundé, but they are in total desperation. We want things to change. At least we are close to the capital city, and the road is very accessible. Why should we live in this condition? The inhabitants of Etok and Kolabang villages in Evudula subdivision, Leke division of the Central region, want better living standards.
Thanks, Matt. And that report concludes the first part of the news. Let's move on to Talking Point. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Barrister Roland OJONG ASHU. He was one of the defense lawyers of Professor Maurice KAMTO at the Constitutional Council. Thank you so much, Barrister, for accepting to be our guest tonight. You just came back from Yaoundé, where you took active part in the hearing of the case pitting Professor Maurice KAMTO, who was the Manidem endorsed presidential candidate. That was ahead of the election and Elekam. The sitting was presided over by the Constitutional Council head, Magistrate Clement Atangana. And as one of the defense lawyers of the Manidem candidates, what was your immediate reaction after Professor KAMTO's petition was declared inadmissible?
Thank you very much for giving me the audience to be part of this interview. What has happened is like history in our country. To an extent, I would say that they have done their job. But as a lawyer, I will consider, that's why I consider the judgment as a political judgment. Because we give the necessary facts, the evidence, prove beyond reasonable doubt that Professor Maurice KAMTO was supposed to be a candidate for this under Manidem. But if they consider it that it doesn't fit the necessary conditions, that is it for them. But as a lawyer, I will tell you, when you go to a case, you do your job as a lawyer to defend your counsel, to defend your client.
And the hearing ensued in a heated debate between you guys and those of the opposite side. Can you tell us some of the facts you people pushed forward for your client, who was Professor Maurice KAMTO?
The facts are very clear. Ancien Kane, the president of the party, Manidem, has invested our client. And by all virtue, he is the president of Manidem. As a president, he has invested Professor Maurice KAMTO. I do not think that any other person could come up anywhere and they accept that it is the same person who has to be invested. And I ask the question like we asked there, who invested the other party? Who invested him? Because what we know is that we have only one person in the party, in a party who is the president who can invest, or maybe they can sit. So if we give all reason to show that Professor Maurice KAMTO had all rights to be a president in this forthcoming election, the judgment was unfair, was against natural norms, against constitutional norms, because Professor Maurice KAMTO, through our defense, we gave adequate reasons to prove that he merited to be part of the presidential election. But the judge thought otherwise.
You were at the Congress Hall, which hosted the Constitutional Council for 2 days. We saw that a lot went on in there. Unfortunately, filming was restricted somehow. Tell us the atmosphere which reigned in that room before and after the final verdict.
Well, you must understand that because of the tension in the country and because of a change envisaged by the masses, by the population, the hall was crowded as usual with people coming in, but there was a tight security. Therefore means if you're not giving a pass, you may not get into. You know, the Congress Hall is a place a bit more further inside. So the first of all is that to get access was difficult. But those who got access inside were those who have been given the pass to get in. But inside the hall, the atmosphere was full of pressure, tension, as well as too much thought provocating, as well as people anticipating that Professor Maurice KAMTO should be given a leeway in. So when we get to the hall, immediately when he entered, the whole hall was under the media houses. Everybody was trying to picture him here and there. So the tension was too much. And so the session started with the first case that was ruled out. And the second case was that of Professor Maurice KAMTO, because it was one of the most important cases that come up. And so he was called upon, he came out, and later on, President of Maniden and Seneca, they came out. And we as counsel stood behind him. Then we started the defense. So it was, we make the submissions, the other parties' lawyers make submissions, and at the end of the day, after 5 hours of intense submissions and counter submissions, and you know, some were even, they were shouting the hall, he's a president, is this, and you know, you get the atmosphere of some sort of tension, and people whining, you know. Then what I observe is, that has caught my attention, is that Professor Maurice KAMTO carried a lot of sagesse, a lot of dignity, a lot of respect. When he entered the hall, you see even some ministers, I might say, eager to just greet him, to be close to him. I saw a man of charisma, a man with dignity. In fact, it's an icon per excellence, if I can say so. I saw a nostalgia that Cameroonians were eager, and I saw media personalities, TV, radio, struggling to get a grip of him here and there. And so the atmosphere tells us that this is the person Cameroon would have loved to be the president.
That's a vivid picture, Barrister. Now, the battery of lawyers who were there for Professor Maurice KAMTO left the hall after the verdict, visibly disappointed for one reason or the other. Can we say once again that the Cameroonian justice system can be put to question?
Oh, I would say everybody has a right to his or her opinion. As that it is now, people will say this, say this. But personally, as an individual and as a lawyer, I saw the law of this nation being trampled upon. I saw justice being taken away from the people. I saw the masses crying. I saw darkness, of which I was supposed to see light in the law. I asked myself as a youth, where am I going to in this country? So it is high time the authority of this country rethink what has happened in Yaoundé, where all evidence proof beyond reasonable doubt that this person is merited to be in that place. But because of politics is a game, political influence. We cannot tell who is behind this political influence, but we know something has gone wrong, and the image of the country international will be at stake. I must be very frank to you that Cameroon will need to receive, even those who make this judgment, they should sit back and rethink. Although we call on Cameroonians to be in peace, to hold them, to stand firm. You can express yourself, but don't go out of the law, because the law is a law. And the law sometimes, as it is now, is based on the person who has the right to execute the law. So I am not happy with what's happened. It's a shame to our democracy. It's a shame to our justice system.
Barrister, before we go, we noticed that Cameroonians actually followed what happened in Yaoundé keenly. What can explain the keen interest Cameroonians had in the case between Professor Maurice KAMTO and Elekam?
Cameroonians should be very interested in this type of issue because the Cameroonians are clamoring for change. And so they are keen. They are observers. They want to see that there's a change because they are tired of the system. We are tired of the system. And I'm a Cameroonian as well. We need a change. So each and every Cameroonian is eager to see that change because Cameroonians in and out of this country were wishing to see that Professor Maurice KAMTO's candidature will be accepted. And that is why they were keen to observe the ruling, the proceedings before the Constitutional Council. And given that the state is aware that Cameroonians are keen, they are in need of change, and they are watching with keen observation the procedure. Because sometimes when someone is watching, he might just get angry and do anything. It is imperative that the government should take precautionary motives, either by throwing out the military, as you can see. That is a way of intimidating persons not to come out. But we know, you saw what happened in Yaoundé yesterday when Professor was declared inadmissible. There was a crowd that carried him from wherever he was to his house. The thing was, you have seen videos. So Cameroonians, we love this country. I must tell you, Cameroon love this country.
Thank you so much, Barrister Roland, ASHU, OJONG, for accepting to be our guest tonight. And just to let our viewers know that off air you told us that what Professor Maurice KAMTO himself wants is peace and not war for Cameroon, because Cameroonians actually love their country, like you mentioned a while ago. Thank you so much, sir, and hope to have you some other time. Viewers, that was what we put together for you this evening on the news in the English language. Thank you so much for always being with us. God willing, we will be together again same time tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.